Hi, my name is Sylvie. I am a certified health coach and I help women look great and feel great through fasting and awful nutrition. In today's video, I am going to share my top 9 tips to help you bounce back with fasting after a cheat day. Nobody's perfect all the time, right? So it is normal that once in a while you're gonna allow yourself to maybe not practice intermittent fasting, maybe have more carbs that you normally would, eat more than you should, and sometimes this may last more than one day, particularly during the holiday season coming up soon. So here, these 9 tips that I am going to share with you are going to help you improve your fasting experience on that first day, because as you may know already, the first day of fasting after a cheat day can be difficult. Before I get started with my 9 tips, I just want to explain quickly what happens in your body that makes fasting harder during that first day after a cheat day. And what goes on is that when you practice intermittent fasting, particularly without keto, to deplete your glycogen stores enough to produce ketones, which will in itself make fasting a lot easier. Well, it's important to make sure that you don't overindulge and that you stick to your fasting hours. The process of depleting your glycogen stores enough to enter in ketosis will most likely take anywhere between 12 and 24 hours. And obviously that depends on how much glycogen you have stored away, and that will depend on how many treats you're consuming and how many carbs. But as a general rule, I find that I really notice a difference around the 18-hour mark on my fasting days. And I usually have a sweet snack in the evening, and I tend to eat a good amount of carbs during my evening meals. So that's what it takes me. Sometimes if I've been really good with my fasting and fasting for 20 hours, quite a few days in a row, I may notice that I feel the difference. I feel that I'm in deeper ketosis around the 14 to 16 hour mark, but that is not the average. And so that's why when you have a cheat day, you are accumulating more glycogen, and so that's why it'll be harder to get back in ketosis, and you will find the fasting more difficult on that first day. But do not despair. You can overcome that, and most likely on the second day, you'll be back on track. So it's not a big deal. My first tip is to drink coffee. Not only is coffee an appetite stimulant, but it turns out that it even helps induce autophagy. And like everything else, I mean, obviously coffee is not for everyone. Some people can consume more of it and feel amazing, while some people feel jittery. It's going to be something that you'll have to experiment with and see how you feel when you drink coffee. I know that there's even a time in my life that if I drank coffee on a fasting day, it often gave me headaches. It's no longer the case. I feel great if I have about 2 or 3 cups of coffee. That's the way I am now, but it doesn't mean that it's always going to be like that. And so same thing with you. Just keep an open mind and experiment to see if you can use coffee to help you deal with hunger and cravings on that first fasting day after a cheat day. Number 2, drink more fluids. Well, drinking is always a good way to deal with hunger, no matter what the circumstances are. Water is your best option. Carbonated, flavored water is another good option. Just flavor, make sure there's no sweetener in it. So anytime the hunger feels overwhelming, well, drink water. Number 3, consume healthy fats. While technically healthy fats do break your fast, they will not take you out of ketosis, and on that first fasting day after a cheat day, they might be your saving grace. I often mention in my video, I put full fat coconut milk in my morning coffee, and it doesn't have any impact on my glucose levels, so I know I am still benefiting from the fast, And same with you. Chances are that if you have some coconut milk, a tablespoon of coconut oil, you will still benefit greatly from your fast, and it will most likely help you persevere if you feel that the hunger is too hard to bear. You may notice that having, for example, some matcha tea with a tablespoon of coconut oil can help you deal with that hunger and these cravings. Number 4, keep busy. So if you have the option, plan to run your errands on that first fasting day after a cheat day, because once you're out and about busy, hunger is never as overwhelming and it's always easier to handle. You can put your mind on something else and move on with your day. Number 5, take a nap. If, like me, you are a stay-at-home mom with children and you cannot always be outside of the house and you're surrounded by all this food, you're preparing meals, sometimes it might feel really hard to stick to your fasting. But if you have the option to lay down with your children, maybe take a short nap, that can really be helpful. Number 6, choose your workouts wisely. For one thing, intense workouts increase the release of glycogen into your bloodstream, and it may cause you to crave more carbs because your body will need to replenish this glycogen. And so you may notice that you crave carbs after a workout. So there are some forms of workouts that I would encourage over HIIT training on that first fasting day after a cheat day. For example, walking, light strength training, swimming, cycling. But that being said, I sometimes do HIIT training on that first fasting day after a cheat day, and it doesn't bother me. But sometimes I notice that I struggle more with my HIIT training on that first fasting day after a cheat day. And it's most likely due to the fact that I'm not as metabolically flexible. My body has been relying on glucose more, and so I have to revert back to being able to use up ketones for energy during my workouts. I used to find it really difficult to work out in a fasted state, but that's something that I was able to overcome with time. Now I feel like I can really push myself even in a fasted state. But again, after a cheat day, sometimes I find it more difficult. Number 7, consume a satiating first meal. That first meal, when you're done fasting on that first day after a cheat day, should be healthy, fat, dense, and have fewer carbs than maybe your regular meal, and that will really help you get back on track and bounce faster after your cheat day. So if you do that, you probably will notice that the second day will be completely back to normal. And if you need inspiration for some easy and delicious keto meals, I have a 7-day keto meal plan, and I'll put the link in the description if you want to check it out and download it for yourself. Number 8, go to bed early. The lack of sleep increases carb cravings. That's a well-known fact, and it is in part due to the fact that when you don't sleep enough, your body will produce more cortisol, which in turn will increase your cravings. So it's a good idea on your cheat day to go to bed early, make sure you get enough sleep, and then also on that first fasting day after your cheat day, basically you should make sure you sleep well all the time. It's always important and beneficial. But even more so, if you want to bounce back easier after a cheat day, I would definitely recommend that you stop any screen time about half an hour before your bedtime, for example, and that you go to bed early. Just make sure you go to bed early. And if you struggle with staying asleep and sleeping soundly, I recommend you try a tart cherry juice concentrate. It helps produce natural melatonin, and it will give you the best sleep of your life. I've experienced it myself as a woman who during perimenopause was struggling with a bit of insomnia, it really made a big difference for me. Number 9, progress gradually. So let's say that you practice OMAD, which is 1 meal a day, or the warrior diet, which is a 20-hour fast and a 4-hour eating window. You could always give you a little bit of a longer eating window during that first fasting day after your cheat day. If that's what you need, go ahead. If you need to have lunch on that first fasting day, well, you still fasted longer if you skip breakfast. Even if you did a 16-hour fasting window on that first day, that's better than your cheat day. So I would recommend that if it's too difficult, you cannot stick with your usual fasting window, maybe yes, eat an extra meal. Make sure that your extra meal is fat dense and contains fewer carbs, and chances are you'll notice that on your second day, you're ready to get back on track. Now, in summary, there's no doubt that your first fasting day after a cheat day will be harder, but it's okay. If you follow the 9 tips I just shared with you, you'll be able to get back on track in no time. Most likely, your second day will be just as usual. You won't have a hard time sticking to your regular fasting patterns. And so enjoy life, allow yourself some cheat days, and get back on track. That's what balance is all about, isn't it? Again, thank you for watching, and see you next week.